Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to give myself such time as I may consume.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, as the House sponsor of this legislation, I rise in strong support of Senate Bill 614, a bill to award the Congressional Gold Medal to the Women's Air Force Service Pilots of World War II, WASP. And here is a picture, Mr. Speaker, of the WASP, one of the many pictures, but as the previous speaker pointed out, not enough recognition was paid to them. Special thanks for this bill go to Financial Service Chairman Barney Frank and Ranking Member Spencer Baucus and their staff as well for their assistance in bringing this legislation to the floor today. I would also like to thank my staff, Mr. Speaker, particularly Captain Dina Nieves, right behind me, United States Marine Corps, who's serving as a Defense Fellow in my office for the remainder of the year. Her efforts were instrumental in achieving the required number of co-sponsors for this bill in record time. And Sarah Gamino, sitting next to her, worked so hard on all of our office projects. Thanks to all the great staff work on this bill. Mr. Speaker, as has been pointed out, the bill before us today honors a special sisterhood of women, most of them in their 80s, who share a unique place in American history. These women have been mothers and grandmothers, teachers and office workers, nurses, business owners, photographers and dancers. One was even a nun. But before that, they were pilots for the United States Army Corps during World War II. They are heroines. Women Air Force Service pilots, or WASP, were the first women in history to fly America's military aircraft. Between the years of 1942 to 1944, these courageous women volunteered to fly non-combat missions so that every available male pilot could be deployed into combat. More than 25,000 women applied for the program, but only 1,830 qualified women pilots were accepted. Unlike their male counterparts, women applicants were required to be qualified pilots before they could even apply for the Army and Air Force military flight training program. Altogether, 1,102 women earned their wings and went on to fly over 60 million miles for the Army Air Forces, equal to some 2,500 times around the globe. Their performance was equal in every way to that of male pilots. With the exception of direct combat missions, the WASP flew the same aircraft and at the same missions as male pilots. Women pilots were used to tow targets for male pilots who were using live ammunition for searchlight missions, chemical missions, engineering test flying, and countless other exercises. In 1944, the WASP were disbanded, their service records sealed and classified. By the time the war ended, Mr. Speaker, 38 women pilots had lost their lives while flying for our country. Their families were not allowed to have an American flag placed on their coffins. And although they took the military oath and were promised military status, the WASP never were recognized as military personnel, nor were they ever recognized as veterans at the war's end. In 1977, more than 30 years after the WASP had served, another woman pioneer, the late Congresswoman Lindy Boggs, introduced legislation to grant the WASP veteran status. Speaking of the day when women would be fully integrated into the military, WASP Burt Howell Granger noted, "If the nation ever again needs them, American women will respond. Never again will they have to prove they can do any flying job the military has. Not as an experiment, not to fill in for men. They will fly as commissioned officers in the future Air Force of the United States with equal pay, hospitalization, insurance, veterans benefits. The WASP have earned it for these women of the future." And the WASP were indeed and continue to be true pioneers, whose example paved the way for the armed forces to lift the ban on women attending military flight training in the 1970s. Today, women in the military fly every type of aircraft, from the F-15 to the space shuttle. My daughter-in-law, Lindsay Nelson, a Marine Corps pilot, is part of the lasting legacy of WASP. Lindsay is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy, served 2 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, where she flew the FA-18 fighter jet. I'm so proud of Lindsay and of all of our service women, past and present, who continue to inspire young women to achieve the unfathomable. By definition, a Congressional Gold Medal is the highest expression of Congress of national appreciation for the most heroic, courageous, and outstanding individuals. Given the overwhelming support of this legislation, as evidenced by the bipartisan support of 334 co-sponsors in the House companion legislation, I am confident that members of this chamber deem the WASP as deserving of this honor. Of the 1,102 WASP, more than 300 are still alive today and are residing in almost every state in our country. Join me in paying homage to these trailblazers and these patriots who served our country without question and with no expectation of recognition or praise. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to join me in voting yes on this bill to award the WASP the Congressional Gold Medal and request its prompt signing into law. And I also ask unanimous consent, Mr. Speaker, that the names of the 1,102 WASP be printed in the congressional record for history's sake.
Without objection.
And with that, I reserve the balance of our